The Galactic Council's greatest mistake wasn't underestimating humanity's strength. It was giving them a reason to collect a debt. Ambassador Telek of the Zari sat across from the human delegation, his tendrils shifting with agitation. He had witnessed 1,000 negotiations, but never had he faced such a predicament. Humanity was owed, and humanity intended to be repaid. "We have reviewed the records," Telek said, adjusting his translator. "The Council acknowledges your contributions during the Koran War. It was unexpected. Unexpected. That was a polite way of saying humanity had defied every prediction. When the Koran hegemony launched its invasion, the Council dismissed Earth as insignificant, low population, limited technology, no standing interstellar fleet. Their best analysts had calculated an immediate surrender or extinction within 3 planetary cycles. Instead, humanity had outlasted entire empires, dismantled Koran War doctrines, and turned the tide of battle through sheer relentless adaptation. Now, the Council found itself in an awkward position. The Koran threat was gone, but humanity was still here, watching, waiting. Ambassador Nolan leaned forward, his expression neutral. "We appreciate the acknowledgement, Ambassador Telek. But recognition isn't why we're here." Telek's tendrils twitched again. "Then what is it you desire?" Nolan placed a small device on the table. With a press, holographic images filled the air. The first was of a Terran warship, the UNS Indomitus, floating lifeless near the wreckage of a Zealer battleship. The next showed a shattered orbital station, its hull embedded with Koran impact marks. Finally, a series of numbers flashed into view, each one a name, a call sign, a cost paid in blood. "You asked for aid," Nolan continued. "You asked us to fight because you were losing, and we fought. Not because we were part of your council, not because we were bound by treaties, but because you needed us. That debt has not been repaid." Telek's sensory filaments curled inward in discomfort. "What exactly are you requesting?" Nolan's lips curved slightly, though the expression lacked humor. "Territorial rights, a place at the council table, full access to the core world's trade networks, and an official acknowledgement that humanity's intervention saved your civilization." A chorus of electronic murmurs erupted from the other delegates. The Thians, the Vuni, the Pakar, all shifting in protest. The Council had never admitted dependence on an outsider species before. Granting even one of Nolan's demands would overturn centuries of precedent. Telek tapped his fingers against the table. "Those are extensive requests. Surely, we can discuss an alternative." Nolan raised a hand, stopping him. "There's no alternative. We saved you, and we will not be ignored." The room fell silent. Outside the station's windows, a formation of human ships hovered in geosynchronous orbit. They weren't as sleek as Zealer cruisers or as massive as Threxian dreadnoughts, but they were there, close enough to be seen. Their presence was a reminder. Humanity had joined the war without hesitation. They had adapted, endured, and refused to break. The Koran War had ended, but humanity's demands had only just begun. The Council had never encountered a species quite like them. Telek exhaled slowly, an imitation of human breathing. "I will bring your terms to the Council." Nolan's expression didn't change. "See that you do." Telek's return to the Council chambers was met with immediate hostility. The gathered delegates had spent the intervening cycles whispering, calculating, and, in some cases, panicking. The room, normally a place of measured discussion, now hummed with veiled accusations and desperate negotiations. "This is unacceptable," the Bwari delegate hissed, his bioluminescent frills pulsating with agitation. "We cannot simply yield to human demands." "They have leverage," Telek replied, settling into his seat. "They bled for us while many in this chamber hesitated. To ignore that will fracture what little unity we have left." A holographic display flickered to life above the central dais, showing a series of battles fought during the Koran War. The images spoke volumes. Human warships, outnumbered and outgunned, refusing to retreat. infantry holding shattered defensive lines until reinforcements arrived, tactical ingenuity that had outpaced every council projection. The Pakar representative, his mandibles clicking in frustration, finally spoke. And if we deny them? If we refuse their requests? Telek glanced at the human fleet, still holding orbit. Then we risk more than our dignity. Silence followed. The truth was unavoidable. Humanity had been seen as a convenient tool, a species desperate for recognition. The Council had never expected them to emerge as a power in their own right. Now, they had a choice: integrate humanity into the galactic order or prepare for a conflict no one wanted. Ambassador Nolan re-entered the chamber, his calm demeanor unwavering as he took his seat. But the air in the room shifted. The humans had waited long enough. Well, he prompted, have you reached a decision? The Thyan delegate, known for his species' pragmatism, was the first to speak. We will grant humanity access to the core world's trade network, but territorial expansion and council representation, those require deeper discussion. Nolan gave a slow nod. A start. But we both know that isn't enough. The Bwari scoffed. You think you can dictate terms? The human's expression remained impassive. We think we can ensure you remember who saved you. It wasn't a threat. It was a statement. The unspoken reality hung in the air. Humanity had paid its dues, and they would not accept half measures. Telek exhaled. Then let us negotiate in earnest. The alternative is not something we should entertain. The council chamber was suffocating in its silence. No one wanted to speak first. Every delegate understood what was at stake. Humanity's debt was undeniable, and yet paying it came at a cost none of them had foreseen. The Thran delegate, the first to support the trade deal, cleared his throat. We acknowledge humanity's role in securing the war's end. It would be unwise to dismiss their contributions. The Vuni delegate scoffed. We owe them nothing beyond gratitude. Nolan's lips twitched, but his voice remained even. You do. Whether you choose to accept that reality is another matter. Telek interjected before tensions could rise further. The debt is more than gratitude. We owe them security. We owe them recognition. He turned to Nolan. What is the final price? Nolan leaned forward, his gaze sweeping the room. A seat on the council, recognition as an equal power, and formal authority over the territory we secured during the war. Murmurs rippled through the delegates. The Bwari delegate shook his head. Outrageous. You asked for too much. Nolan let the accusation settle before responding. We asked for what we've earned. Nothing more. Telek knew there was no alternative. The war had been devastating. The Council had relied on humanity as an expendable force, and humanity had survived anyway. They had adapted, innovated, and now they stood before them, demanding their due. Ambassador Nolan folded his hands on the table, waiting. The Pakar representative clicked his mandibles in frustration. If we grant this, the balance of the council shifts. Humanity's influence will grow. And, Nolan said, is that a problem? No one had an answer, not one they could say aloud. The truth was simple. They had never expected humanity to survive, let alone thrive. Now, the idea of them holding power was terrifying. The Thyan delegate sighed. We vote. One by one, the votes came in. The Bwari and Pakar resisted until the very end. But the result was clear. The council seat was granted. The territories were recognized. Humanity had claimed its place. As the meeting adjourned, Nolan stood and extended a hand to Telek. The Zari hesitated before clasping it in a human handshake. Was this always your plan? Telek asked. Nolan smiled. We never fight for nothing. Years had passed since humanity's ascension to the Galactic Council, and the universe had changed in ways few had predicted. The balance of power had shifted, not through war, but through the relentless drive of a species that had been underestimated for far too long. On Terra Prime, the newly established seat of human governance, An array of interstellar delegations now walked through the halls of the United Council complex. It was here that humanity had begun reshaping the very structure of the Galactic Order. Admiral Vaughn stood on the balcony, overlooking the vast cityscape, his eyes tracking the movement of ships in the sky above. He had been there during the Koran War. He had seen the price humanity paid firsthand. And now, he saw what that sacrifice had built. Thinking about the past again, Nolan's voice broke his thoughts. Vaughn turned, smirking slightly. It's hard not to when we're standing in the future. Nolan walked forward, clasping his hands behind his back. The Council still watches us, waiting for us to make a mistake. Some still think we don't belong. They won't think that for long. Vaughn gestured toward the incoming diplomatic shuttles. The Zari have officially backed our latest trade proposal. That's more support than we had even a year ago. Nolan nodded. Telek played a long game. He knew resisting us outright would have led to worse outcomes. Instead, he positioned his people as our allies. Smart move. The others will follow. Vaughn looked toward the stars. Humanity was no longer a mere footnote in galactic history. They had proven themselves not just as warriors, but as diplomats, strategists, and innovators. And yet, there was still work to be done. On the outer edges of explored space, human ships had begun venturing beyond what the Council deemed safe. Colonization efforts pushed into new frontiers, uncovering ancient ruins, lost technologies, and remnants of civilizations that had vanished long before humanity had even reached the stars. But with expansion came new challenges. Whispers of resistance among the old guard of the Council grew louder. Factions unhappy with humanity's rapid rise stirred unrest. Skirmishes in distant sectors hinted at brewing conflicts yet to come. Nolan turned to Vaughn. Do you ever wonder if this is just the beginning? Vaughn chuckled. It always is. Humanity had paid its debt. Now, the galaxy owed them something in return, a future. The halls of the United Council complex on Terra Prime stood as a testament to humanity's ascent. What had once been an uncertain negotiation for survival had now solidified into undeniable influence. The Galactic Order had changed, and humanity had ensured they were no longer at the bottom of it. Ambassador Nolan walked through the corridors, his mind occupied with reports from the outer colonies. Humanity's expansion had accelerated beyond projections, their fleets charting unexplored space, staking claims, and encountering remnants of civilizations long gone. Some were abandoned husks, others held technological wonders lost to time. But not all discoveries had been peaceful. Standing at the observation deck, Nolan watched the stars. The Zari homeworld shimmered in the distance, the first of many species to recognize humanity's right to govern alongside the old powers. Their alliance had been built not on subjugation, but on mutual debts. Humanity had protected them in their most desperate hour, and in return, they had lent their voice to humanity's cause. That precedent had reshaped the Council itself. Yet, there were those who opposed the new balance. Whispers of resistance had turned into open defiance. The Vuni had begun funding separatist groups, while the Polkar refused to acknowledge humanity's authority over newly acquired sectors. Reports of skirmishes at the fringes of known space suggested that not everyone had accepted humanity's place as an equal power. Admiral Vaughn's voice came through the comm link. Another border dispute. Bwari warships entered restricted space near the Omega Cluster. Nolan exhaled, unsurprised. Any casualties? None so far, but they're testing us. They'll get their answer soon enough. The Bwari still clung to the past, believing they could ignore humanity's contributions, believing they could erase a debt unpaid. That mistake would cost them. Nolan turned as a delegation entered the chamber. The Zari, the Thyans, and a contingent of minor races. Those who had once been on the margins, but now saw in humanity a force willing to challenge the old ways. The Council is preparing another vote, Telek said, stepping forward. They intend to limit humanity's expansion. Nolan smirked. They're a bit late for that. The truth was unavoidable. Humanity had saved them all once, and the debt remained. The only question was whether the rest of the galaxy would pay willingly, or if humanity would have to collect once more.